comics like giant hardcover they just released. I have the AWA Wizard of Oz shit coming in the mail at some point soon. That Kickstarter was like months ago. So it's like my bookshelf's about to take a beating.
I just picked up their Gaia thing over the weekend. That was
Who,
interesting.
AWA?
Yeah, I did
Oh yeah,
not
they're
expect
good
them to
people.
have something so fire.
Oh, all the AWA shit's been pretty solid. Like Dennis has worked on some shit with them. I'll say Charlemagne has been doing pretty good with all that.
I was very surprised that oh my god, Murdoch? Yeah, Murdoch popped up on my feed and I was like, I actually like something from that family. That's actually really
Mhm.
so that's
Isn't that
interesting.
weird?
Right, right.
So did you order yourself a copy of the Titans issue?
Yes I did. Yes I did. I'm hoping it's coming in the mail. I'm very excited.
I was like, I hopefully if I repost this enough, B will pay attention because I was like, so someone DM'd me. What was it? Flea was like, "Hey yo, can you get me one?" I'm like, "No, I'm not doing nothing for you. You chill
No,
out,
no, yep.
motherfucker."
I also ordered a shirt too from the Cuts and Comics
Nice.
people because they got the Star Wars static one, and I'm like, I think I just found my new
Mm.
shirt I'm gonna wear for work for like a week.
Oh yeah,
The
they got
co-
like a whole collection of shirts that they have for their thing. I'm like, I love
right.
those things.
Those are perfect that I think are going to be great for just content creating and anything you want to do. But just for me loving DC, I was like, thank you. Because all I had was the static symbol. That's all I had. And when I'd show people, people would be like, oh, it's the Flash. And I'd be like, oh.
I bought a custom Flash shirt off of T Public, not a Flash shirt, Jesus Christ, static shirt off of T Public, and yeah, it should be nutty.
And I'm like, I'm about to get static more popular just so people see that symbol and be like, static, not the Flash. Because those are two different lightning bolts.
Yeah, they are. It's irritating sometimes.
I would have preferred if they even got it mixed up with Black Lightning. I'd be like, you know what? At
Right,
least you
like
got it close, you know?
it's just I feel like and like that might end up being like a whole YouTube video at some point, which is the issue of Static and Black Lightning, like their popularity difference. It's an issue in its own right that needs to be talked about because yeah, it's frustrating because Hardware was supposed to be the breakout character of Milestone, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Static caught fire, and it was like, well, guess we're doing this, and it's like it's frustrating because I love
I
Hardware
feel like
so
if they would have
much.
stuck with Hardware, he could have been that like
Mhm.
particular character that was their focal point. But like,
Oh
I
yeah.
get needing your Spider-Man esque character and everything to really draw in
Mhm.
the crowd, but
For
like,
sure.
Superman's the big dude for DC. They still lean on to him as their like our main guy, you know?
But like Batman is obviously more popular, which is crazy.
Hmm.
Hey, yo, so I'm this artist I follow, J Hero, he really put this piece out today. I just DM'd it to you, and it's my new phone wallpaper, and I'm loving this shit.
Damn, that shit goes hard, dude.
And I was mad too because like I even DM'd him on Facebook and I was like, bro, you're one character off from my dream team up because literally my dream team up for like if I ever get a book to pitch a DC, it's Steel, Hardware, and Mr. Terrific, basically creating the Justice League contingency plans that Batman made specifically just for Batman. Like we're tired of this crazy ass white man doing this shit, so we're gonna be smarter than him and run and make sure that he doesn't get out of line,
I
and one
love
day
that.
they finally have to pull the trigger on the plan.
I love so see, honestly, with everything that they're doing with the Absolute Universe, that would be a perfect, like, little tie-in to everything because 'cause they're all supposed to be corrupted heroes at the end of the day anyway, so, like,
Mhm.
some kind of heroes having contingency plans at the end of the day for our heroes, absolutely genius, I absolutely love that. I'm
Right, it
also
would
gonna
be
grab another
phenomenal.
soda before we start recording.
Hey, I just grabbed me a fresh one, so I ain't mad. Who do you love? At some point, I need to bring the music back because the music was a dope thing. I think the problem with me is I gotta find music that actually like lasts more than 3 minutes for the show. The show.
Headphones, there we go.
My phone was blowing up. I just did an interview with Devin, the editor in chief of Summit Comics like right before the show. That's why I was like, I had to go step out for a minute to stretch my legs before I came back.
No, that's fair. I like was playing Peak with a couple friends, and around like 2 o'clock, I was like starting to fall asleep while I was sitting there, and I'm like,
Mm,
I need to go take a quick power nap because dear
that's funny.
lord, it was nice though. Good nap. Work's working me too much, but they're giving me a lot of credit points that I can use on my account, so they're keeping me happy as a stoner.
So do you just get paid in credit? You don't get paid in actual money?
No, basically from both jobs at this point.
That's not healthy, but all right.
Nope, nope.
How
Luckily
am I gonna
for
pay my bills with comic books? Well, you can open a
well,
whatnot
well,
store.
I know, right? Heck, by this point, I got like a stack and a half that I could put onto a whatnot store, but I plan on doing
Which
that for some
honestly, I'm
giveaways.
surprised you don't pitch that to your boss, like running your store's whatnot page. That could be a fucking genius way to put yourself out there.
Honestly, I think they're starting to get ready to do that because they're getting bundles and everything going. And they had one guy doing it like when Whatnot started up and they got a good bump, but the dude was never consistent with it. So
Mm.
it really just fell off and they just never had any like traction on any channels.
Yo, you know how I bought that poster specifically for the advertisement thing I was doing?
Yep, yep.
So filmed all of the last 3 videos for that deal, right? Submitted them, and they go, "Hey, so we don't know about, if you can have those posters in the background." And I was like, I had them in the background for the first 2 that you had me rush out for your Spider-Man think pro update you had going on. Oh, well, we'll have to get them cleared. I'm like, they're all Marvel posters because I want to make sure that you had them on deck because the last one you had a problem with being a milestone poster. And I'm going to give you the specific issue numbers of each number one. That way you can verify that they're Marvel comic books. And they went, okay. And we're like, so if you just pay attention, everything would be okay.
It makes me so sad because like I get that the comic book industry is so big, but like your team that's doing marketing and stuff like that's got to be able to like I don't know, screenshot grab and reverse image search to be like, okay, this is part of the actual property that we've put out. Like I get we've been
Especially
around
when you
for
can see
long.
Marvel in the corner, like
Right, right.
all three posters. If you look, bam, bam, and then bam, you can see a little Marvel box, and it's like I'm doing a literal ad for Marvel, and y'all can't just like play along. Like I just, it's
I
what
got
it is
Marvel
though.
everywhere in the background for y'all guys, and y'all still think I'm trying to
I
do
went
you
out of my
dirty.
way to buy a whole poster off of Amazon. That way I can put my milestone poster on the other wall. And y'all still went, we're worried about that. It's like, are you or do you not just do your own research?
Just reminded me too, I had a buddy give me a really nice like Spider-Man poster with all the Spideys on it, and oh, I can't
Mhm.
wait to get that up onto my wall.
Oh, bro, one of my favorite things to do is like literally if you go on eBay or you ask your shop, like shops are constantly sent free promo posters like that. So it's like I literally will go searching for things like I still have a giveaway when I need to send out just to smoke because he won a Fantastic Four facsimile one. It's like the first appearance of Black Panther, and my shop gave it to me for free, and I was like, "Oh, auction that off. Why not?" And it
Hell
worked out like
yeah.
that. So like
That's
that's the one
good
thing that a lot
stuff.
of people
I'm
don't
gonna have
know
to
is
look
like,
into that.
oh, like that's one of my favorite things to tell people is that like if you need shit to put on your wall, like just go on eBay and look up comic shop promo posters. Like it's the best thing that you could possibly do.
Make your wall look beautiful.
Hmm.
I'm busy collecting comics and throwing those up on my wall still.
I mean, hey, if you got the space for them, she
I still got a
because like
whole like section over here that ain't even on camera. I got a little corner of the living room that's just comic book based.
Lord. Yeah, there be some crazy ones out there. Like there's like a Young Avengers poster from back in the day for $30 on eBay. There's
Oh
um
damn.
yeah, there's a Wolverine Origins poster, Teen Titans. There's a bunch of shit on there. If you just search the Marvel
That's
Legacies on there, bunch of
oh
good ones.
hell yeah. That's gonna be perfect. Need to give Marvel a little more love on my wall too. I think the only
Yeah,
one that's up here right now is
and see what's
Moonstone.
wild is like I have more DC in my pool list right now than Marvel, but it's like I had 2 Marvel posters as it was, so it was like,
It
why
balances
not?
it out perfect though.
'Cause, like, and granted, at some point, like, I want to put the milestone one back at some point, like, but like I'm just gonna leave it like this for a while because like I love having the Sanford one right there. That Power Man and Iron Fist poster, like the first issue goes so hard. That whole run, I told David about this like the one day when I talked to him. I was like, that run is like one of my favorite things that he like has ever been put out, and yet Marvel acts like it doesn't exist, and I'm like, what is wrong with
That's the crazy thing
so
is because,
good?
like, I think it was a month ago, the, owner of the shop ended up, like, throwing some Power Man in front of me and being like, "You interested in this?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, thank you for having some back issues in there." I'm very grateful for that, and, like, because for one, every single time you say something, I swear it's like 3 weeks later, my shop just manifest, like, 5 or 6 issues to be like, "Here you go, JP just talked about this, you can now educate yourself a little bit more." And I'm like, "Thank you,
Oh,
thank
brother,
you."
I if you ever need Rex, like let me know. I keep trying to get people more tapped into Marvel because like there's so much Black Panther shit out there. Like Blade has a bunch of old stuff. One of my favorite things to tell people to this day about the landscape of Marvel is that prior to the Blade Wesley Snipes movie, Blade wasn't actually a half vampire. He was just resistant to being bitten by vampires. Because like when Deacon Frost first bit his mama, it was just you're resistant to being bitten by vampires and being turned. It wasn't until Morbius bit him in Spectacular Spider-Man number 7 he then transitioned the next issue into a daywalker, and then they sort of like soft like rebooted him in a way to where it's like no he was always like this. It's like no he wasn't always like that.
So do you think retcons like that enhanced his abilities more, or do you think that tampered his storytelling?
I think it makes sense from a lore standpoint that he should be a half vampire, that he should be a daywalker. I think it's just that there's those little bits of lore that are fun, like the fact that there was one run in '06 that officially made Blade being biracial canon, like he's half black and half white. So even though he Wesley was darker than hell, like he still is half black and half white. So it's those little nuggets of lore that people don't know about that blow my mind. Like there's whole
Honestly,
runs of comic books that people don't know about.
I love that because it's almost that reverse take that we get to see in media at that point, because you normally see,
Mhm.
like, if you have somebody who's full black, they're gonna try to lighten their skin up to make it a little bit more palpable for the audience. So to be like, "Alright, we're gonna make sure that he's black for the movies," and then just be like, "Ah, he's mixed in the comic books." I like that. I like that. It feels like it's a good little twist on that. It feels just that little bit of
Yeah.
like, "You know what? Here's your little one token we'll let you guys have for this moment in media."
Mhm, and it's like he literally like was kind of Obama-fied, and it's hilarious when people don't know about that. They're like, "Nah, Blaze full black." It's like, "Are you sure about that?" Are you confident in your answer? Because I can tell you you're wrong. And there's those little like fun moments like that. Or like I was on Penaloids last week talking with them about stuff, and they were shocked at how much knowledge I had. And I'm like, bro, this is my shit. I love knowing all this nonsense. And I made a joke because the one host was like, the Stephanie Phillips run of Daredevil is like his favorite run of Daredevil ever. And I'm like, the Frank Miller stands are gonna come after you. And then someone was in the comments going, Frank Miller is amazing. I'm like, called it. Like it's just Frank Miller stands be rabid as hell.
Here's the thing is I'm not even that big in the Daredevil stuff. Like, I just started picking up Stephanie stuff, and I know that, like, Frank Miller's supposed to be, like, king of Daredevil at this
Mhm.
point. Like, I think I looked up one thing of Daredevil on TikTok, and then the first 10 recommendations was his stuff, and it was like, "Alright, okay.
You
If you
know,
haven't read
it's
this, you're not a real Daredevil fan."
see, and that's one thing I want to get in. I'll probably touch on as like we get towards the end of the show is that there's this like disconnect when it comes to like what makes you a real comic book fan, and it kind of frustrates the hell out of me. So we'll
Amen on
definitely, I
that.
might, I might bring that up. I'm gonna tweet the show out, and we're gonna go in. But we have 5 people in the chat. Shout out to chat. But so y'all should be able to talk. I made sure it was marked as uh not a kid show. Let me, not made for kids. So y'all should be able to talk. Shit, refresh your page if you can't. But yeah, no, it just is it's interesting to see how there's been these talk like there was some there's this new age group of people on TikTok who have been like, if someone recommends you Batman Year One as your first starting point for Batman, don't trust them. And I'm like, the fuck? Like it just it's it's interesting to see how people's opinions about these old comic books have shifted over time.
I think ultimately, like, just quick talking on that one. I feel like the new age kids, like, read that stuff real quick, and then when they ask for recommendations and get recommended, like, the same thing, they're like, "Well, what other deep Batman lore can I get into?" And then at that point, then it's like, I hate to say it, you need to jump into his series that's been going on for 1,000 years at this point if you wanna, like, get the nitty-gritty stuff, because everybody's always gonna pick, like, the main thing that's popular to, like, talk about, and then you're
Right.
gonna have to dive in deeper with, like, someone like JP who has that deeper lore that's in there, and that's why you got to follow like specific people. Cause I know a lot of people online, like I can easily go Google half the stuff that I've put out onto comics and everything like that. But
Mhm.
like, to get something that JP's got, you got to be in here for 10, 15 years and you got to see how the industry's changed over the time frame. You can't just jump into it at the beginning and be like, I know everything.
See, and let me do the intro because that might be the opening topic shit. Um, What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time once again for Comics Unmasked, the podcast where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. And we are back once again for episode 59, folks. By the time you are hearing this, we will be past episode 60 because we have a bonus episode coming out for you for this week. Because I got the chance to sit down with Tori Hopkins. He is a longtime veteran of the industry who originally got work for Marvel back in the day and then took a 30-year hiatus. And then he recently has a Kickstarter going on for teenage vigilantes. And that is something that you can check out on Kickstarter right now, which is awesome. Got to sit down with him and talk about what he has going on. So we will be at episode 60 and then not only that, but next week will be 61, and you will also get 62 next week because I will also have a bonus episode to sit down with the writer of Crescent City Monsters next week because he has a Kickstarter going on for his issue 5. So definitely look out for that. We are going to try to get back to daily double or weekly doubles for you guys, where there is the episode, the weekly show, and then there's the bonus episodes where we talk to different creators. I've thought about just splitting it into two different shows, but it's like I don't know. We might get there and I might have to renumber everything. So if at some point you just see everything renumbered, it's just been retconned. Just go with it. But my name is JP. To my left, we have Afro Baggins himself, the brother who works so much that it's to the point that his job just pays him in comic books. B Rex, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. We just celebrated Static Week with him coming back in. I got my last 2 volumes of the Milestone Compendiums, and I need to figure out a shelf that will actually hold that many pages now, and it just feels good. It feels good as a collector this week, and just to see Static back, I'm ecstatic.
I see what you did
Yay.
there. Okay, okay. Don't forget, folks, that you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your mama's fridge, Amazon Music, and Audible, iHeartRadio, all those great places. And make sure that you follow us on TikTok, Instagram, all those great places as well, because we are trying to shout out to the Harvey Awards because the Harvey Awards followed us on Instagram this past week. Thought that was kind of cool. But we are gonna be just talking about books and just unmasking everything to give y'all the true perspective on things. So first thing, we were talking about this during the pre-show, and I wanted to have it be the opening topic, sort of break the ice and let folks come into the live stream if they wanted to come in. There's been this issue going on in the comic book content creator sphere with a lot of younger readers who have been like, "Hey, don't recommend somebody older jumping on points like Long Halloween or Ultimate Spider-Man #1 or Batman Year One or Superman All Star or something like that," and because that they're tired of hearing these as recommendations. And I'm just like, what? Like, it's okay to have your favorite story of a character for sure. There's nothing wrong with that when it comes to things. But there are celebrated jumping on points for certain characters for a reason. Now, granted, Stanley always said any comic can be someone's first. I definitely truly believe that. That is something that I stand behind to this day, that any comic can be someone's first. However, there are still those touchstones of the comics community that are meant to be your first pickup. There are meant to be origin stories. Now, granted, Frank Miller's writing of Batman Year One isn't the best at times, and like there's those growing pains that every writer has to go through. But there are always those clear and concise jumping on points that are meant for people. Now, granted, would I ever tell someone that their first comic book should be All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder? No. And at some point, I'm gonna make B-Rex read that because that's a fun one. That might be homework, B. You might have to read that this week. But but I wanted
Alright,
to get
alright.
I wanted to get your thoughts. Like, there's been this wave of content creators who have been like, "No, don't read those old books. Read what I tell you to do because I want clicks." And I wanna see what you think about that.
So for me, the first thing that bugs me is that if you want to jump onto something that's like current on today's media, you're
Mm,
going to have to do some homework and figure out things that happened in the past. And so that's why we tell you to jump onto the Long Halloween, Batman Year One. Even like now that we have a Mr. Terrific Year One, we're also going to recommend that for Mr. Terrific, because those are things to get you like, this is what the character's about. This is basically what it is. And I get that you want to get deeper stuff that goes in there. But then whenever you come out to like content creators like JP and then we turn around and say, "Hey, New Titans is out. Hey, Moonstar is out." People seem to not pick that up. And I think that's mainly because there's that disconnect of being the big name that's there, even though this
mm,
is just that equivalent of good writing that you would get back then as well. But then also, a lot of people I feel like read those ones and then come and look for recommendations and immediately go into the like, well, I already read that. I need to figure out what's deeper into the lore. But let alone they're then following people and getting recommendations from people who've maybe only been doing this comic book stuff for a year, for 5 years. They haven't seen how the industry has changed and grown. And there's this like little bits and pieces of lore that get like picked off and thrown away and then get locked into the vault so they can come back in like 30 years is like this big
mm.
revelation, that like, and I don't mind that. I love that. But you also have to remember the industry's been here for a while. You got homework to do in the past if you really want to enjoy what's going on now. And that's really the big thing for me because you can't be knocking the long Halloween because that's really what got Batman to where we're at now. You can't knock the All Star Superman, especially because that's really what gives you that sense of hope from DC. Hell, even Blue, what is it, Spider Man Blue? That shit had me crying. It was so good,
Mhm.
and that talks about stuff that happened way in the past.
Yeah, and it's like I think they also like the issue for a lot of people is that they like I understand hearing the same jumping on points for people can be jarring, especially when you're like you expect to hear like new things and new starting points or new stories. And granted, it's kind of the same thing that happened the past year where I sat down with a comic store owner and he was like, "Oh, everyone's coming to pick up Absolute Batman. All I see in new comic book day videos is DCKO and Absolute Batman and yada yada." It's like, well, those are the books that some people are hearing about, and then they're picking it up, and then they're recommending it to other people, etc. Now, granted, we have sort of seen the advent of people starting to pick up more indie titles and things of that nature, which is great. But at the same time, it's like there's going to be some overlap when the communities are still kind of small. And there's going to be some books that are people's favorites. Like I tell people all the time that if you ain't read Bitterroot, something wrong with you. Like, hell, I finally got B to tap into Philadelphia this past week, and he loved that shit, didn't
I
he?
loved it. I even like listen, I got 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. As soon as I finished 1 the night that I got it, I got online and spent $20 to make sure I could get 3 into my box. So I could be like, it's there. I have the first
You know, you could
5
just buy
sets.
you could just buy the deluxe edition hardcover, right? You don't have to buy the
Yes.
single issues.
The single issues are for me personally. Those ones are
Mm.
going into the box. Those ones are staying with me as just a special gift. If I have children, my nephew will be able to read
Mhm.
those ones. Those ones are for family so they can know that like this is special. And then all of the other deluxe editions, those get handed out to friends so they can see what's happening.
Oh, okay, got you, got you. Okay, got you. You know, like, and that's even something that I've told people is that like there are those great books that everyone should be reading. I'm gonna start like making a list of like different books that everybody should be reading. I don't care about to make a website dedicated to it, but it's like different indie books that everybody should be reading. Like they're like when it comes to like female readers, I tell people all the time, if you are someone who is like frustrated by the lack of female representation from DC or Marvel, if you ain't read Bitch Planet from Kelly Sue DeConnick, you are missing out. There are different books like that from different like people. Like there's Unnatural from Image as well. There's different books that I tell people these are like touchstones of the medium that you should be reading, that you should have read, and they will make you feel better about the fact that comics are for you just as much as they are for me. So I might start working on that and starting to curate, even ask some other like female comic readers as well. Like, hey, is there certain books that should be on this list? Because I want to make sure everyone has an opinion on that. So that definitely might be something I work on because it should be welcoming. It should be something that everyone has access to because the idea that anyone doesn't have access to everything bothers me. But we will see how that goes.
I
So
agree.
the first thing
That is
up,
so
well,
good.
the second thing up for this week is that as we talked about, as you can see behind B, New Titans number 38 came out this week. And this book was insane in terms of everyone being hyped for it. The issue itself, mind you, wasn't like the craziest thing. And I think that was something that a lot of people were going to have to swallow and understand is that and I even talked about this on because I guess started on the Panaloids podcast this past week. I was like, this is going to be something that a lot of people need to understand is that like the Titans are messy. It's teen drama, angst, and nonsense. So you're gonna have to expect that it's not gonna be like action packed. Static's not gonna come in and do all this crazy stuff. It's the intro story. And finally, excuse me, finally, we see Virgil being on this team, which is awesome. But this is just the part one of what happens next. And similarly to other Titans, like jumping on point issues, like when La friggin' Mia Dearden joined during the Johns run or something like that. There's certain runs where just different characters come in. There's some setup, and then the next issue will be where we jump into the action and stuff like that. But in terms of the impact for this issue, this went nuts. This issue is blown up. The Ink Alliance, we talked about them on the show recently, which is a collective of different black-owned comic stores throughout the entire country. They had their own exclusive cover, like designed by the one who cannot miss, Sanford Green. And both myself and B were able to score copies of those. Those are in the mail, and we are very thankful for those. But I am so glad that this has blown up in the way that it has. As of the recording of this episode, almost every store has sold out. There are two stores that are believed to have a couple copies left, but we will have an official designation tomorrow if every issue is sold out. So by the time you're hearing this, it will more than likely be sold out across the entire country. To the
Oh, that makes me
people,
so happy.
oh, yes, it's so exciting. To the people, though, who are on eBay already flipping this damn book, shame on you. Like, B, have you seen it at all? Have
I
you seen
have
it?
not. I didn't like I for me personally, I speculated thinking that people would like try to flip this and make it like this big thing and everything like that. But at the same time, too, most people don't pick up the new Titans. So I was thinking like it
Mm.
was gonna be very mellow. So you need to fill me in.
So two copies have been found on eBay. One has sold and one is still up for sale. And I want you to guess I want you to guess how much the one sold for. It's a $30 book. I want you to guess how much it sold for.
Realistically, if I'm being smart with my money, 75. Like 75 is the highest that I think that should go. But now that it's like hitting the news basis, I'm thinking it's up there into like the 100, I'm going with 125. 125.
So I need to make a correction. There are two sales live, or like two copies live on eBay, and one that's sold so far. One has sold for 130. It was 129.99. And then there's one listing for 349.99 and one for 300 even.
You know what?
And
Yeah, y'all rack up the price on that because if I get this comic book in the mail, I could have $1,000 comic book here.
well, and here's what really frustrated me is that like the fact that the issue already sold for $130 pre online launch, mind you, because yesterday on Saturday, the issue was already planned to go up on Blurred's Underground and also on Offbeat's websites because they still had copies left from the initial physical release. They were going to go live at 11 p.m. and they sold out within like 2 hours or something like that. But like Like you had an opportunity to still buy this at release price for $30, but you chose instead to not read, not do your own research, not listen to this show, and know that the issue was going to be out there for $30. It was going to have an online release after it had the first day of release on Wednesday in the first couple days. You had this knowledge, and there were so many individuals that were out there saying, oh, where do I get this from? Where do I get this issue? It's a Sanford Green issue. Where do I get this issue? And I'm like, y'all are the most like illiterate, media illiterate motherfuckers on the fucking planet. Like, y'all have access to the internet. Do a little bit of research, read a news article. Like I was the first person to report on this whole entire thing happening, and I was the only person for like 14 hours to report on it, mind you. And I was sitting there like, wow, y'all are kind of stupid if you don't know what like you had like a good solid month and a half, 2 months, something like that, to order this book and like prep for this, and y'all said, nah, we good.
The
I'm like,
craziest
huh?
part too is that you could go to, like, during that 2-month period, you could go to any of the comics, store websites that were doing it and pre-order the comic for you so you could get
Yeah.
notified when it went up onto sale, so that way you could be one of the first people to have gotten this comic, and, like, yeah, it sucks that, like, for some of the people who lived, like, 2 hours away, they drove the 2 hours to get the comic early, and I, like, feel bad for them on their gas, but I'm also jealous for them for getting that cover early, you know? It's one of those flip
Hmm.
sides to where, like, you have some people who got to go to the comics early, and I understand the fan base to where they were angry about that, but, like, that's why you go and support it now. So hopefully DC does something bigger with these people later, you know?
Oh, you know,
And,
they're
like,
already talking about doing other publishers, other exclusive stuff like that. And like this is the first thing, this is the first of its kind. It's a bunch of collective comic stores, black owned comic stores coming together to meet DC's demand of what the minimum price is for 1,000 copies of an exclusive comic book. They all came together to meet that quota because like some white owned comic stores that have the money in the backing to do that, they do it on their own. There's plenty of stores that do it on their own and just keep it pushing. Like how many store exclusives were there for Absolute Batman? 70, 80,
oh
90, something
dear
like that?
God, there was more than that could fill up my page on Comics Geek, I can tell you that.
So it's just like this was the first of its kind of move. So that means that there is going to be a group of individuals that are going to be trying to do more of this in the future. And all you got to do is just buckle up and be prepared and do a little bit of your own research. That way you're prepared for next time. That's all you got to do. So
Trust me,
I'm
doing
happy
that
for him.
research will help out because 'cause I'm happy for the comic. I'm happy to see people, like, trying to flip it online. I just feel bad for the suckers who are gonna be like, "I spent $300 on this comic," when, you coulda gotten that for 10% cheaper or 10 yeah, for 100% cheaper at that point, it feels like.
It's just kind of sad to see because you could have got that is for so much cheaper. All of you just slow down, did a little bit of research. It has saved you some time. So I'm excited to see what the Ink Alliance does in the future. I have a follow up article coming out probably Tuesday. Once I because I'm gonna write it tonight and then and wait to hear about the final numbers tomorrow because right now it's just this does extremely well and then it might turn into sold out. So I have to wait for the final numbers, but I'm so thankful to the folks like Phil and Mike who kept me informed because this is the first of its kind. And I'm excited to see how this develops in the future. So we'll definitely have to
See, and
keep an eye on that.
that's the best thing too, is to where even if this doesn't do great in the future and like a whole bunch of comic shops don't come together, it's nice to see the community come together for something like this too, especially for such a big thing because we don't get to see
Mhm.
static in the mainline universe that often. We don't get to see all of this like push that we've gotten in the past like I'm even going to say just 6 months it really feels like that like we were able to have a community come together like this and to have a Stanford Green cover like that. Ooh, so good.
See one who cannot miss once again kicks butt. And it is exciting to see the continuation of it. I'm excited to see what happens with it, and I'm like, I want there to be more, so we will see how that unfolds. So, B-Rex, you, sir, have been finally sitting down and reading the Milestone Compendiums, and I wanted to sit down and talk with you about them, good sir. How you doing?
So, I'm doing good. Blood Syndicate is on fire. I don't
Yeah,
know how
literally.
he
Ha
was I
ha.
know, literally, the whole fact that they go through that arc with their base getting destroyed, finding the new base, and then they have oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess up on her name, oh my gosh, the 2 people that they keep going back and forth on whether they're he's or she's, um, that are demons. Ah, I'm spacing on their name.
Uh,
Uh,
uh, Flashback?
no, not flashback. It's a little bit later in the issues with that one. But starting at the beginning though, the fact that we have the whole setup with Brick, I was not expecting her to be Latino when I'm reading through everything
She's
and
a
then
brick.
it really
House.
pulls in. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. And then the heartfeltness that you get from that from just being somebody who used to be human and it's like that the thing factor of being a completely different thing now and you're trying to come to grips with that and then also losing your memory and it's all slowly coming back throughout the series. Absolutely beautiful, absolutely great. Is it third rail? No, third rail does the physics. It's the super strong dude. Yep, one more, three forward.
No, I'm just gonna pull the splash page.
Yeah, far left guy.
Yeah. Freaking the entire crew is just phenomenal, and
Yep.
I love that you're experiencing this because it I remember reading Blood Syndicate when I was younger, and it's mind-blowing when you read all of it because you did I could have never seen that like DC actually allowing this kind of thing to be published, like, because it comes off very gang-like, but at the same time, very much they're a family trying to survive in a lot of ways, and it's like so well done throughout the entirety of the series. I think it's a what, like 40 some issues, something like that. Like it's so well done, and it breaks my heart that we haven't got to see more of this. And it was funny too, because I remember talking with Stephanie Williams about this when I had her on, and she was like, "I really want to do a Blood Syndicate book," and I'm like, "I don't know how DC would allow that to go in this day and age. Like this
That would
rough
be
stuff."
That would be so perfect though, because that's one of the things as to where I feel like the media has gotten. I understand the equivalation to gangs and everything that we've gotten, but that was always the whole root of a gang was these groups and individuals coming together who didn't feel like their community was protected and didn't feel like they had a family together. And these people were able to create one. And the fact that he was able to tap into that so perfectly without making you feel like you're being alienated to know that these guys are evil in the sense of the aspect that we get from our social norms is perfect. It's excellent. It really brings out the conversation to show that these people have a life outside of what they're doing as a gang because this is just their lifestyle that they're trying to survive at this point. And the fact that they have power at this point, they don't want to be pushed over anymore. It comes down to that whole
Mhm.
aspect that he's able to bring out. And oh, it's phenomenal. It is great. I hands down, I there's so many twists that he puts into it too, like with Brick and the one dude. I wasn't expecting them on hooking up during it either. And I love that they
Mhm.
throw that into the comics too. They're not afraid to talk about this, hey, there's a
Oh yeah.
maturity to this, You have trans characters that are in there, you have gay characters that are trying to fight with their homosexuality and figure that
Shout out to
out. And they're
Faye.
and it's fantastic, all of that stuff. And I'm like, I wish we just got more of it. I wish we could have had this as as big as what Static was because it's all at that such good level at that level.
Well, and it's funny too because I don't know if you remember, but the Blood Syndicate actually kind of had a episode of Static Shock. It was smaller and they were dramatically changed for the show. But do you remember the Nightbreed episode of the Static Shock?
That sounds familiar, the word Nightbreed, but I don't remember the episode.
So the Nightbreed were a different version of the Blood Syndicate. There was only like 3 members, but Brickhouse was a part of it. And what was really cool about it was she like it was like they all kind of changed over, like it was all different. But like they had Nightingale and like a couple others. Like these guys were in a whole dedicated episode where their powers made it to where they didn't respond well to light. so they couldn't be out during the day. So that's why they all wore sunglasses. They couldn't be out during the day and whatnot. And
I'm
this
remembering
was
this episode. There we go.
yeah.
Yep.
And like Ebon kind of ran them for a little bit. Like this was the way they could work the Blood Syndicate into the show. And then I don't know if you recall, but Young Justice season 3, but Holocaust was in a dedicated episode
I
of
remember
Young
that one.
Justice.
I was so excited about that one when that one came on. It was during like,
Mhm.
oh, I feel like it was 2022. I was watching this one, and then I saw Holocaust on there, and I was like, no, they didn't. They didn't just pull a milestone character out of like, it felt like out of nowhere for me too. Like, I just felt like
Mhm.
that was made for me at the time because it was just like, here's your one milestone character that, like, if you vaguely even know anything, you know who Holocaust is, you're gonna love this.
Uh-huh. It was such a weird ass deep dig because like he was the fourth milestone character to be well, no, fifth because by this time Hardware was randomly shoved into the background of Young Justice as well, which that would have always felt so weird. Like they randomly
I
just went, yeah, Hardware's here, and I was
See,
like,
that was the thing that
okay.
threw me too, because I was like, "Is that Hardware?" As, like, somebody who was here, I was like, "Is that Hardware?" Or did they just be like, "We need a generic black person in the background right now. Let's just make sure we get them in there." Like, I was 50-50 on that for the longest of time, and I'm so happy that's
Hmm.
Hardware because,
It
like,
was
thank
so
you.
random. I was like, "Is that Hardware?" And then I looked it up. I was like, "Yeah," because Greg Weisman was always a Milestone fan. So like, because you had Rocket and Icon, you actually you had Static, and then this was Hardware and Holocaust getting featured. So we had 5 total Milestone characters featured over the lifespan of Young Justice, and it's interesting to see how that played out. And hopefully, this means at some point down the road we could get more. But it makes me happy that you're getting to dive into this. YJ had Icon, Rocket, Static, Hardware, and that guy. Anyone from Milestone? To my knowledge, Dango Bang, I don't think there was anybody else from Milestone in Young Justice, but it's cool to see that we've gotten a few little media digs like that over time. And I just like, what were your thoughts on the rest of the compendium that you've gotten to read so far, B? I wanted
Oh,
to
so
dig into that.
far, absolutely amazing. The way that they set up Icon for it, because I remember reading, like, the first issue that I got, and then I started reading through the rest of them, and the battle that they end up putting in place reminds me of, like, the Green Lantern battles that, or not battles, but, like, philosophy that they did with, like, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan when it came to more of a conservative side and a liberal side when they were thinking about things. I felt that same conversation there, but it felt more at a individual level than it really
Mm,
felt like being at that, like, oh, political execution of things. This came down to how more of all the politics affected people, and I really loved
mm,
how they were able to talk about how deep that was there. And then they really just threw it was like issue 4 that they ended up throwing in that um
that Raquel
Rocket
was
was
pregnant.
pregnant. Yep,
Mm,
yep. And I love how early they ended up tackling that for these comic book series because that's something that, like, each their own, people always talk about when it comes down to teen pregnancy, but it's important to talk about when it comes down to somebody making those life decisions that early on in their age, you know? And
mm,
her fighting with being pregnant in the next issue too, to where she's like, I'm Rocket. I look at me, I can still do all these things. I can't be pregnant, you know? And her friend I think it's her friend. Yeah, her friends ends up being like, "Yo, just take a pregnancy test. You think you're pregnant?
mhm.
Let's figure this out," you know? And it comes down and brings it down to that human level from the heroes. It's such beautiful writing,
How many
beautiful
issues
writing.
of Icon have you read so far? I'm curious.
I'm up to 7 now, I believe, right now.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
haven't met my favorite character yet. Oh, I'm so excited.
Ooh, trust me, I am too. I've got this whole thing down. I wanna try getting through all the compendiums by
I
the end
want
of
you
the
to meet
year.
Buck Wild. I want you to meet
Ooh.
Buck. Have you heard of Buck
It's
Wild,
I
B?
have not heard of Buck Wild. This is okay, first, it's, oh my gosh, it looks like it's a Luke Cage right there. It looks like we're supposed to be getting our Luke Cage, so I'm
Yes.
excited to see this.
That is the whole point of Buck Wild is Dwayne McDuffie and the Milestone founders, they were very annoyed at the jive talk and the like the disingenuous nature of Luke Cage in his first appearances. So Buck Wild is supposed to just be a caricature of Luke Cage in his early era. So you definitely gonna have fun with this. It's
Ooh,
gonna be a
I'm
good
excited
time.
about that one. And then I did jump ahead and read the Death Wish stuff because as soon as I got my
Mm.
hands on it, I was like, okay, I kind of need to read this. He talked about it, and I was like,
Yeah, the
ooh, I
hardware
hate
Death Wish
how
stuff
good it
is
is.
yeah,
I hate how good it is.
it's crazy, and that's why that's why when I hear the story of how DC wasn't cool with the publishing of the static like sex storyline, I look back and go, you let this get published. And you got beef with static and having some condoms on screen. You let this shit get published, like seems
That
kind of
it
weird,
it
guys.
throws you too. It really throws you because even when you're reading, like, static stuff to today's terms and everything, it's tame. It's really
Hmm.
tame stuff. You might have some stuff you'll, like, blink an eye at and be like, "Yeah, maybe that lady shouldn't have been so close to static on the bed during that time. That's a little weird," you know? Like,
Hmm.
100%. But then you get up to Death Wish and what happened to him and his family, and DC's just like, "Yeah, throw it in a comic. Throw it in a comic, let's just see how well it sells." Uh, like, what the
Mm.
hell? What the hell, DC?
Yeah, no, Death Wish is like because he's meant to be a Punisher knockoff. That's the whole idea behind him is that he's meant to be a Punisher knockoff, but his own version of things. And like the story is deep, and you're like, oh, it's going here, and like you love it later on, and how, like it's cool that Death Wish gets the spinoff later on because he genuinely hates what he did. He hates what he did. He's a victim himself, but hates what he ended up doing, and it makes you want to tap in and learn about him. Like I'll say this: I have very few white characters that I love to follow, but I loved finding the follow up story of Death Wish because he actually was painted as a victim himself. So it was something that I could connect to because I've been a victim. So it was something that meant a lot to me, and it's like it was something that meant a lot to me as well because it's very few and far between that we tell stories like that of men being victims. So it's something that like I don't know if any like other like comic books to this day have ever like modern comic books even ever touch on that kind of thing. So very my hat goes off to the writing team behind this because Dwayne was not messing around. And this is the comics code is on it. The
Yep,
comics code
yep.
authority is on this bitch and it's still without. That's the crazy part too. So
It's wild. It's crazy. And that's the thing too, is that, like, the whole entire Milestone universe does such a wonderful job at, I'm gonna say, reverse tokenizing everything that the media had done throughout the entire years. Because one of the big things that we talk about is like, one thing that they talk about in the static issues is how like Jewish people assimilated versus Black people assimilating. And then if you go over and turn it to zombie and you start reading about that one, they actually start
mhm,
taking things from Jewish culture and adding lore into it, into their universe, instead of making it like, oh, this character's Jewish, congratulations, we're just going to leave it at that. You know, they actually bring
mhm,
more build up into the world. They actually make you more interested into what, you know, goes on in Jewish religion and into Jewish culture as well. And it's just perfect. It's excellent. It's wonderful. And I never thought I would be interested in a dude who can't die and just uses little robot nanobots to take from other things to feed his body.
mhm.
That concept alone, brilliant. You could write 20 movie scripts off of it, and it's in a comic book for everybody to read. It's
Well, and it's funny too
fantastic.
because you say that, and it's really insane to how well Dwayne and Dennis and this entire team dove into the future of these narratives. And Dango Bengai said perfectly in the chat where he's like. The comics code has always been used to promote conservative values and was used against not non-straight and non-white stories and stories focused on women, and that is so true because people that there's like, when it comes to the comics gate weirdos and the people who say comics shouldn't be political if because they live in this vacuum of the 80s and 90s where to them comics weren't that political unless the subtext was like really in there, like with X-Men and stuff like that. They never really had to deal with the front line of comics being political because back in the day with the comics code, they had to alter it that way it wouldn't be like that. But in reality, when you go read at the first run of Action Comics, Superman was like liberal as hell. Like, genuinely, when you read those early Superman books, like all these conservative people, even Dean Kane's bitch ass, all these other people that be out here in the streets, they would hate OG Superman. They would hate Siegel and Schuster's Superman because he was a person that stood up for Jewish rights. He was a character because as much as people like to claim that Superman is a Jesus allegory, he's actually a Moses allegory when you actually sit down and unpack that ish, because he's sent from his original family, sent away to go live on a different planet and things like that. And it's so genuinely sad at people who try to paint this idea that comics have never been political. And it's like, yeah, I don't think you understand the truth about comic books. I think you've just twisted it in your head because to you, comics weren't political, even though they always were.
And that's I get people wanna shut off their brains and read a comic, I completely understand that, but you also have to understand that art imitates life, and life is constantly going through a political battle no matter where we're at. So, when you're reading this art form, you can shut off your brain, definitely enjoy it, but at the same time, make sure that you know what you're ingesting is educating you at the end of the day and is trying to relay some kind of message that's there.
Very well said. Very well said. So, since someone asked in chat, did I miss Jay Penumbra throwing his head back in laughter like a supervillain at Hal Jordan fans? No, you have not. And let me fill my cup because I was drinking out of my Rise energy, but let me fill my cup real quick for chat because I
I
think it's time.
I am jealous of this cup, by the way, because as soon as I saw the ending, the only thing I could think of was, "Oh, JP's gonna love this."
This is something I've waited a long time for. Because for those who don't know, I have 5 characters in fiction that I can't stand for the life of me. Well, 5 characters in comic books I can't stand for the life of me. Damian Wayne, Tommy Oliver, Tony Stark, Superboy Prime, and Hal Jordan. And Barry is a close sixth. He's a close six, but I tolerate Barry, even though I want him just as dead as Hal Jordan. But Hal Jordan fans make it worse to where I can't stand him. So Hal Jordan will always be at the top of my I can't stand you list. And in this episode of Lanterns was very good. Now hear us out. This show has always been recorded on Sundays. So we are recording this show at 6 p.m. Eastern and live streaming it to everybody. So we are not able to watch the show prior to the show. Or prior to our show because the show airs at 10 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. So next week you will hear us talk about episode 2. This week you will hear us be talking about episode 1. And B, I'm gonna sip out of my mug. I want to know what you thought of episode 1 of Lanterns.
Ooh, it was so good. I love detective stories. I love the setup for detective stories, and it is beautifully written for this. You fall in love with every single character that's put on page. You get invested into the relationships that's going on. I love the like twists and turns that they put in there when it comes down to John Stewart and the grandma and everything like that. I didn't realize John Stewart was into the grannies, but good for him, you know? It was, I ain't gonna complain. She's good looking. And then it gets
I'm
to the
dead.
very end to when like they throw us into the future and then Hal Jordan or sorry, Stewart's walking up the steps right there and then you just see Hal's body frozen with the bullet hole and I'm like, I can't believe they did it. I can't believe they did it because like I'm not gonna lie. I thought they were gonna try doing this whole thing of like we're gonna have both lanterns in the series the whole time, and then by the end of it, we got 3 lanterns. Congratulations! And they were like, "Nope, we're cutting it off right there. We got 2 lanterns. You guys are gonna figure out whose ring is whose, and we're gonna go from there." Hal, if you want him, we'll do some past stories. You get some figments of imaginations here and there. We got him locked
Even
in
some
a ring somehow.
holograms.
We got some holograms, exactly, and like oh, all of it was so good. The writing too, I was glued. I was glued. I don't know how, um, oh my gosh, who's playing John Stewart?
Aaron Pierre.
Aaron Pierre. I don't know how he just like pulled in the essence of every Jon Stewart from the cartoons and from every comic book that I've ingested from him, but this dude knew how he needed to act throughout the entire thing, and I was like, he was raised to be Jon Stewart, like Jon Stewart was raised to be a Green Lantern. Like that's I think is what happened here. Cause oh, fantastic. Oh,
Very much so. So I will say this. There was a comment on Twitter where someone was like, does anyone know why John Aaron Pierre is acting like John Stewart is so stoic and bold and not very like emotional? It's like, have you read a John Stewart comic book? Have you read a comic book with Jon Stewart in it? Because that's what he's supposed to be. He's tough, he's bold, he's dealing with the struggles of toxic black masculinity, and he's just trying to cope. He be out here doing the damn thing. And Aaron, like B said, Aaron Pierre is doing great with the material so far. Brother out here running like Flintlock Wood, out here doing the damn thing.
give me two
Um,
more running scenes like that, and he officially gets the Tom Cruise award.
Yes, I love the dynamic between these two. It felt very modern Agent J, Agent K in the best of ways. It felt very well done in those aspects. And like this is going to be controversial, but I think Kyle Chandler was born to play Hal Jordan because and people get mad at me when I say this, but this is what Hal Jordan should have always been in the comic books, a dude who's here for the Silver Age and then passes away and never comes back. Because the same way that it's done in the Green Lantern animated movie Beware My Power, where Hal isn't just retconned in Rebirth to where, oh, it wasn't actually Hal, it was the space bug that's in his brain. That always frustrates me that they go, it wasn't Hal, it was Parallax. It's like, no, Hal was always a bit of an ass and didn't actually fuck with these guardians. It's just the Parallax entity just gave him the ability to see the truth the way he always knew it was the truth. So that's why he does what he does. And I think they're kind of hinting at that with the show so far, that you're gonna have that Parallax turn. You're gonna have that moment be a thing where Hal genuinely just goes, the Guardians are stupid. I don't agree with their bullshit. I'm a hero. I'm going to do it my way. I don't feel fear. I control fear. And that's what's going to happen. And they have this very grizzled, too old for this bullshit way about him. And like B said, you could give me like 5, 6, 7 seasons of just Kyle Chandler and a young man makeup or CGI makeup doing this shit and having a good time in the Silver Age in the 80s and 90s. I would love it. Give it to me. It'd be fun. It would be a great thing to do for those Hal Jordan fans. But in the modern age, as Dwayne McDuffie once said, y'all looking too white in this bitch. And y'all need to mix it up a little bit. And Jon Stewart being here and being put in the front is a great way to do things. I don't care if it's John. I don't care if it's Jessica. I don't care if it's Badge. Y'all need some color, damn it. And that's what people get so mad at me for, is that I tell people that yes, I am a hardcore Jon Stewart fan, but I'm the guy that says Kyle Rayner should be in the driver's seat in the comic books, like they just did finally in the comic books recently in the Jeremy Adams run. I'm that person that says that Kyle Rayner got dogged and didn't get to actually be in the same vein as Wally West, where he got to have years and years and years of stories as the main Green Lantern, like Wally did as the Flash, where they both got robbed at the end of the day, mind you, where Wally should have just stayed the Flash and Barry should have never came back. But if anything, the stuff with the like that happened in Rebirth and the color spectrum and the Sinestro Core War and all those different things, people always say, "Oh, you can't have those stories with how." Bitch, watch me. I could do it real easy. And they're like, "Oh, you can't do the Sinestro Core War without Hal. Hal and Sinestro's relationship carries that story." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. So here's how we're gonna do it, right? Here's how we're gonna do it." B, have you ever seen Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker?
Yes, I do know that one as the Joker fan
So
on the thing.
So you know that scene in the warehouse when they're having the final fight where Joker smacks him upside the head after he turns in from Tim Drake and he goes, "Give it up, McGinnis. Even the real Batman and Robin couldn't handle me in their prime. You can't. You ain't got no chance." That moment is quite literally what they could have done with the Sinestro v Kyle Rayner dynamic in the Sinestro Core War if Hal didn't come back to life, where they could have said, "You're not good enough to fight me, Kyle Rayner, because Hal Jordan was my equal. You're never going to be the greatest lantern of all time. I couldn't even beat the greatest lantern of all time. And you have no shot of beating me." And you know what could have happened? Kyle Rayner could have put the smackdown in his own way with different constructs, different things like that. And it would have proved to an entire generation that Kyle Rayner is him. And they said, nah, we're going to go back to the well with Hal Jordan. We don't want to innovate. We don't want to tell cool stories. And people get mad at me when I try to drop the truth on them that Dan DiDio just wanted his Silver Age heroes back from when he was a kid. But I try to keep trying to tell people the gospel. Maybe one day they'll hear me because I'm like, hey,
And this is the thing that kills me too, is because, like, I don't keep up on my Green Lanterns too much, but, like, Kyle Rayner's the White Lantern, isn't he?
he's Spanish. He's
Yeah,
Spanish.
no,
How's the
but
white
he's
guy?
the but doesn't he end up becoming the White Lantern, getting the
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
combination
yeah.
of all the rings and stuff like
Yeah.
that? Like, Kyle Rayner is that dude. Kyle Rayner has
Mhm.
been that dude for years, and I just don't
Yeah.
understand why, like, I get the love for Hal, I really do, but, like,
Mm.
Kyle is so much cooler. He's just got some,
Exactly.
like, swag to him that just makes him go like, "Yeah, you gotta love the dude," you know? Like,
Mhm.
Hal's a prick too. That's the other thing that I don't get how
Right.
people can't, like, get to, and I get how, like, you explained it with the whole parallax thing and they try to, like, jump it off to that, but, like, when it still comes down to it, we have that conversation that we had with, Death oh my gosh,
Death Wish.
Death Wish, to where, like, he is a victim too, or you can be an
Mhm.
asshole, but you still gotta deal with your consequences of what you have done, you know?
Exactly.
And, like, nobody wants to deal with that when it comes down to Hal, and that's very frustrating.
And the chat's even saying they're like they did the same thing with Wally in the Reverse Flash, and it's like yes, you can do the same story twice. It's not a bad thing, especially when you have two legacy characters. But it's like genuinely they gave up on Kyle. That's what really frustrates me is they gave up on Kyle and said we're gonna go back to the well with Hal. Imagine how cool and I know you've been reading Absolute Green Lantern, so you're gonna like my other idea that I have because people tell me all the time that oh well they could have just brought Hal back for Blackest Night and brought him back from the dead after Blackest Night, and I'm like, see, that's where we do one more thing. Since Jeff Johns likes to be the king of retcons, where he wanted to make Black Hand be obsessed with death. What if we do the Al Ewing thing earlier than when Al Ewing did the thing in Absolute Green Lantern? Rather than having Black Hand be the arbiter of the Black Lanterns and retconning his entire backstory, what if we just say the first to die, Hal Jordan, is the arbiter of the Black Lanterns, and then he gets to be the one that has the triumphant moment where he fights back against Necron and frees everybody from the darkness, but his life still has to perish and sacrifice one last time, similar to Final Night. And it's so well done that everyone goes, Yay, Hal Jordan's the goat of a past generation. Now we can go back to Kyle. That's when Kyle actually does become the White Lantern and defeats Necron. That would have been so good, but Jeff Johns didn't want to think like that. So what do
That
I know?
is really good. That is really good. And that's the issue, is to where, like, listen, I love my Green Lantern stuff. I really do. But, like,
Mm,
the one thing that kills me is when they, like, started tweaking the powers back in that early generation to where it was like,
mm,
"Oh, wood affects him." And then all of a sudden it's just like, "Well, now this Green Lantern isn't really part of that Green Lantern and we're trying something completely different," which I love.
mm,
I want more Alan Scott. That's really what I'm, like, shooting for at the end of the day, because I love my oldies, and that would have been the lineage. Like, that
mhm.
lineage there would have been lined up so excellently. Dude, I see why people tell you need to write a comic, my dude.
I swear JP just said describes the Sorrow Lantern. I mean, I'm just saying, I think it would have been a great way to do things where you pay respect to Hal. And yeah, the Sorrow Lantern was a thing. The Gray Lantern, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm not gonna lie to you because yeah, that was a cool little era where they introduced the Sorrow Lantern. But like, I was thinking more so just the Black Lanterns. That way, Hal has a better ending because that's what Al Ewing just did in Absolute, where they made Hal the Black Hand. It's like just make him the arbiter of the Black Lanterns, make him an unwilling participant. It would have been so cool to see that happen. I'm just saying. And the thing about it is too, I loved Kyle Chandler in this episode. I think him being an old grustled Hal Jordan is a great way to do things. I'm excited to see where the show goes. I just feel like Hal Jordan fans need to stop this whole DC hates Hal Jordan, man, and it just y'all sound stupid. You
That's
sound
what I love
dumb.
too, is they were like, DC hates Hal Jordan, and then they make Hal Jordan the guy who's right the entire episode and everything. That the dude knows what he's talking about the entire time, and nobody wants to listen to the old man, you know? But like, it's a complicated relationship with these characters, people. But Hal definitely ain't hated.
Yeah, no, and it's gonna be really cool how they go out of their way to like make Hal be so well done throughout this entirety of the show that they're gonna be like, we want more Hal, even though he's dead. And it's like, y'all was bitching and saying that that they hated him. Now you want more of him. What you want? Like, you can't be talking shit. And it's just gonna be really interesting the way they spin that at some point. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I hope like things improve over time. I hope people let John have his fun and be the premier lantern because truthfully, I think Aaron Pierre is about to do some good work. I feel like we're gonna see some awesome stuff happen. I just need motherfuckers to calm down because it's getting really annoying.
Dude, him pulling out the beard in the future too, that whole goatee, the Jon Stewart one, I was like, "Ooh, ooh, so clean. I love it." I
You
am
know,
just
it's looking real good. So
I can't
we'll
wait till
def-
they put the suits on too. That's gonna be dope.
See, and I'm that's the one component I'm worried about. I'm worried about how John's suit is gonna look compared to what? I like John. I'm worried about how John's suit's gonna look compared to Hal's, but we will have to see how that goes over time. So from there, B, what do you got on your pull list for next week?
Ooh, let's get that pulled up real quickly. I know we've got second printings of the Digger issue 1 and issue 2 coming out, and I got Satana number 5.
All right, I'm gonna say for me, I'm not gonna lie. Next week is looking pretty basic for me because I have Corpse Night number 5 because I decided to pick up Corpse Night because my girlfriend's reading that. Um, Terminal number 2 comes out this week. Make sure you pick up that because we're gonna be talking about that next week. Terminal was amazing for the first issue. The Fall of the House of Slaughter is coming out. Mighty Morphin number 3. Marguerite, Marguerite, you got this. This is your last chance. If Mighty Morphin number 3 ain't hitting, I'm done because Mighty Morphin has been rough. Mighty Morphin has been rough these past few issues, and they're not doing it for me. I might actually reach out to Joey Esposito, see if I can have the two writers of Unlimited on the show because I don't know what's up. Like. And here's the thing: something tells me that this was not Marguerite's fault. Something tells me this was not Marguerite's fault. Mighty Morphin 2.0 that's going on right now. This can't be Marguerite's fault because genuinely I've read some amazing work from Marguerite over the years because like you have her Batwoman run, she's working on Odin with James Tynion right now. She wrote Beyond the Grid from the Mighty Morphin book back in the day. Like I've seen Marguerite stunt. I've seen Marguerite put in good work. And this doesn't feel like Marguerite. I know someone was at San Diego being like, "Oh no, Marguerite was all excited about this book and yada yada." NDAs are a motherfucker. And I would love to know her perspective on this book from like off the record at some point because genuinely Mighty Morphin 2.0 that's going on right now just does not feel like a good book that anyone is going to enjoy. And I'm hoping that number 3 turns it around, but it just feels like Boomer Logic. It feels like Boomer Logic, the comic book, and it's not hitting. And it's like, it doesn't feel like the continuation that people were looking for. Like, like Kim and freaking Kim and Trini are like, oh, we're moms now. We can't drive our Zords, and I'm like, this ain't hitting. Like you can be parents, but still be Power Rangers. Damn it! Like you can still do the damn thing. It's okay. Like we've had parents and be Power Rangers. Like Cat's done it. Like why can't y'all? Like it feels odd, and
That
I don't like it.
that does feel odd to me because then the idea about it is like one thing when it comes down to becoming a parent, your life doesn't stop. You just have to figure out how your life adapts to having children. And I feel like that's a
Yes.
very important message to be able to put, especially like, I know comics are for kids, but parents read comics to their children. At least I hope they try to, like at
Hmm.
some point, these messages need to get out there. And I feel like that would be a great way to relay that message there. Very like nail on the
Yeah.
head kind of thing.
It feels so bizarre the way they're doing it. So I hope that issue 3 turns it around and like maybe it's editorial just beating the brakes off a Marguerite story and changing things up because it feels so jarring the way they're doing this. And like the Marguerite's written things for DC like bombshells. Like Bombshells is iconic, and you're telling me that Marguerite can't handle some Power Rangers? But the math's not mathing. The math's not mathing. It feels like editorial messing with my Power Rangers when they're letting Joey Esposito and the other writer of Unlimited just cook. And I'm just like, y'all need to figure this out because either you need to let Marguerite off the leash and let her cook the way you're letting those other two brothers cook because I don't want to be that guy, but it's coming off a little sexist because y'all didn't let uh Melissa have her runway. You're not letting Marguerite have her runway, but you're letting the boys have the runway over in Unlimited, and it's looking kind of messed up. I don't want to be that guy. I'm not gonna say it is. I said it looks like it, and hopefully that means that over time they can pivot and fix some things. But if this is gonna be the trend that whenever women step on the scene with Power Rangers, y'all gonna be weird about stuff and tighten the leash, it looks a little scummy. So I just hope that it improves because genuinely I love Marguerite as a writer, and this is the first. Genuinely, this is the first thing by Marguerite that I have not liked, and that bothers me. Like genuine. So hopefully that improves. I'm sorry about that little rant. I needed to go on that little rant because it breaks my heart that they're not letting her do her thing the way that she's supposed to be doing her thing. So we shall see how that improves. Also, to whoever runs League of Comic Geeks, if you cancel any of my pull lists one more time when I didn't cancel it, we are gonna fight because this is the third book that I've called on this list this week that my pull list is not on here. Like, because I went to go add Corpse Night because I want to make sure I got it. But Terminal stuff like got canceled from my pull list when I had Terminal on there. Bloodland from Ignition got taken off my pull list when I didn't do that shit. Excommunicated from Vault's not on my pull list when it should be. And I'm like, who's messing with my shit? I know it's not my comic shop because I asked them and they said, no, we don't, we can't just like remove something from your pull list if you pull it. I'm like, see, then something's going on the back end because books keep dipping from my pull list and I didn't get the variant cover of New Titans that I wanted, like the one that's sitting behind B because it got pulled from my pull list. So I'm like, something's going on this week, and y'all need to figure it out. But I have Terminal, the Red Robin Compendium that came out this week, and Bloodland, Corpse Knight, and Excommunicated. But don't forget, folks, that you can follow this show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, your mama's fridge, Amazon Music and Audible, iHeartRadio, all those great places. We will be back next week, not only for the weekly show, but also for an interview with the writer of Crescent City Monsters to talk about issue 5. We will check y'all out next time. Peace out.